Sorry you're going to have to see my face a bunch, but it's what I've got handy. I've written an extend script ScriptUI plugin for Adobe After Effects, which simplifies the process of creating image sequences and prompt files to feed to Stable Diffusion using a piece of software called Invoke AI in order to create image sequences out of the model. To install the extend script, you have to install this folder and this script file into After Effects Scripts ScriptUI Panels folder. And as you can see in this folder, there are several supporting files that are called upon by the main file. So once those are there, you can fire up After Effects, and then in the window menu, you will have ESD composition setup. That stands for Export to Stable Diffusion. I'll click on that and it shows up as a window. I can just drag it over here and now it's a panel. Yay. I'm going to start preparing my image sequence. I've got a piece of footage here. I'm going to create a composition of it. There we go, and let me set the resolution of my composition. So I'll make it 768. If you set this too high, you may not have enough VRAM to create an output. 768 by 432 I know will work for me. 30 frames per second is the frame rate of the video. So I'm going to hit OK, and let me scale this footage down to fit in the space. There we go. Okay, I've got a video clip with some motion. There are a couple things you have to do in order to have the right settings to go into your prompt file. One of them is you need a layer of settings. These are the basic settings that you want to throw at the model. I'm going to change image strength to, let's say, 0.45. I'll leave the rest as they are. In-paint strength doesn't actually matter for this since we're not in-painting. And then I want a prompt layer, a sketch, and I'll put a negative prompt photograph because I don't want the result to look anything like a photo. Sketch photograph by Picasso. Here we've got a setting for the strength of the prompt because you can actually keyframe that or change that. You could have 2 or 3 or any number of prompts and keyframe them up and down. Oh, you know what? My video is looking a little dark. I'm just gonna do a color correction on that before I send it over because Stable Diffusion will try to copy the levels of the image, and I think it'll be a nicer result if it's a little more contrasty. So now I've got a video here. It's low enough resolution. I've got a prompt. I've got ML settings. So I'm going to do an export. And this comes up. So here's where I'm exporting it to. Here's where it is showing me what the paths to the files are going to look like in the prompt file. The reason for this is if you're calling Invoke AI from within the folder with the images, you could just not include full paths to images at all. Or you could include full paths. Here's the full paths I'm on a Mac right now. If you're running Invoke AI on a Mac and you want the full path to the images in the prompt file, you've got that option. Or I'm actually going to run Invoke AI over on Windows, and I'm going to replace the path to the images with the path to the images as they will be once they're sent over to Windows. Sorry, this sounds a little complicated, but it isn't. Okay, I've got a few settings here I can set. You can upscale. You can have it set to upscale the output. Face restoration I'm turning off because I don't want to have this look photorealistic in the end. Other options, I actually don't. I want to set a seed and have it be static all the way through because I'm hoping to cut down on how much jitteriness there is in the output. You can export a single frame along with a prompt file so that you can test on a single frame. Or you can do a full sequence, and I'm going to have it start the render right away of the PNG sequence. You don't have to do that, of course. You could just generate your images and your prompt file, but here I go. Sequence. It just exported the prompt file, which is a text file with the prompts, and it's done. So I'm going to pop over to my Windows machine. Here we go. It made this folder. If I look at the prompt file, well, you can see there's the prompt. There's the prompt strength. And then it's -I, which tells it input. Import. Here's the full path to each image. And here's those ML settings and the seed and which sampler. Basically, all of those settings we talked about are in here, one line at a time. I've got InvokeAI running here, telling it which directory to output to, and then I'm going to say from file. Let's drag this in. So it types it in, and then I'll just hit return, and it's going to start running. It will load the model and start processing line by line, loading each image and using the prompt and the settings for each image, and it's going to spit out a whole series of images. It's done. I'm going to select all of these images and put them in a singular folder, which I'm going to call test17, just giving it a name. And now I've got all my images in a folder. I can go back to After Effects and import, select the first image, and I'll say PNG sequence and force alphabetical order, since InvokeAI puts the seed at the end. And if you don't force alphabetical order, these don't look like frame numbers to After Effects, but alphabetically it'll come up properly. Let's see, 30 frames per second. Okay, this sequence has the right frame rate. So now I've got another feature built into this app, because I wanted, especially when I'm doing an export where I'm animating image strength over time or keyframing prompt strengths up and down. I wanted to be able to see what the settings were for each frame and what the input was, and as well as see the output. So I have a thing built in where you can click to select your sequence, your preparation sequence, click to select your output sequence, and say make show and tell comp. Oh yeah, it's got a little explanation in the tooltips. Click that, and now I've got a show and tell comp. I can hit play on that, and you can actually see side by side the video, the result, the settings. And that is the plugin. Okay, now it's a longer sequence. I'll drag it over here, make a project. Let's bring the size down. Okay, just doing some of the same things as before really quickly here. Adjust that, and even that. Okay, that's fine. Alright, I've got an image I want to send over, but what I'm going to do now is, okay, I'll add a settings layer. So there's our basic settings. I'm going to want image strength again at like 45%. Prompt. Just going to do that same prompt, and I forgot I could add it here. There it is. Okay, and then let's make another prompt. What would be an interesting thing to see it morph between? Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now we've got these two prompts. I'm just going to hit U here to see the keyframes. So now if I were to look at these prompts, this is what they're doing. I'm going to have the prompt go zoop, and they switch. And also, I'm thinking, let's do the same sort of thing over here with the image strength. How much the image is affecting the output versus just the prompt. Let's go pretty well here. Alright, let's take a look at these graphs. So now I've got the image affecting things around 40%. Now it's just prompt, back to image, and then we're going to switch between those two prompts. This is the kind of thing you can animate into your prompt file, and it makes this a fun thing for experimentation. Like if you wanted to just do a single image and see how the varying prompt weights or image strength over that sequence, and just throw a couple hundred images at InvokeAI and Stable Diffusion, and then come back later and be like, aha, there's my golden set of parameters. That's what I want. You can use this to find it. Anyway, so we've got all that set up. I'm going to launch my export dialog and leave it all set the way it was, and I'll just say sequence, and there it goes. It did the text file. Basically, the values change. All right, you get the idea. I'm going to go over to InvokeAI and run it. Control L to clear that screen. Let's go back to my. There's the one that I drag it into. All right, here's my prompt file. Drag that in there, and I'll just hit return. It'll start going. This is going to churn quite a bit longer because I think I added more than double the number of frames. So we'll just have to wait a little while. This is where you put a transition, a time cut. All right, I've got all my images. Let's import the resulting image sequence. And I'm going to click on the first one. I'll say I want to open a PNG sequence, force alphabetical order. I'll take the sequence I used to create it and the sequence that was created by the model. I'll say make show and tell comp, and now if I open that, I've got this comp that let me go back. It's got this this comp nested within it. So if I just take these two prompts, I need the prompts to be there because the other prompt is linking to them, but if I put them under the footage, they'll be invisible, and then they'll no longer be on top of there. So now we can see the input video, the prompts, and which percentage of each prompt is being used to weight the model, as well as other settings. So we're going to see this image strength dip and go back up and see the results of that, as well as see the results of these prompts changing. It's loading it into memory right now. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you can see those numbers change. Interesting. So the image strength, maybe I was thinking wrong about what image strength does. I could see that when image strength went down, the video, basically the output pretty much looked a lot like the input video. So that was sort of almost fading away the Picasso sketch prompt effect. When it switches over to gleaming metal shiny robot, it's still very affected by the color of the input image. But it's an interesting effect, and you can see the fade between the weights. It's interesting. Fun. But there you have it. That is my little experimental plugin for playing around with Stable Diffusion. Hope you enjoy it, and please fork it and add to it and submit pull requests and all that sort of thing if you are a developer or are so inclined.